One of the common doubts that most PMP aspirants ask me is, Gautham, we already understood the concepts behind Agile artifacts and ceremonies, but we are not understanding the Agile process flow. When I say Agile process flow, which artifact should be created first? What next? Which ceremonies will happen first? And what next? And when I say artifacts, anything you create as a part of an Agile project, it's an artifact. For example, project vision statement, that's an artifact. Product backlog, sprint backlog, these are artifacts. And when I say ceremonies, any events that you are conducting as a part of an agile project, that's called ceremonies. For example, sprint planning meeting, daily stand-up meeting, sprint review meeting, these are some ceremonies. So in this video, I'm going to discuss one of the most confusing topic for all PMP aspirants, that is the agile process flow. Most importantly, at the end of the video, I will be revealing two free giveaways from EduHubSpot for all the PMP aspirants who are watching this video. What are those giveaways and how to get it? As of now, let it be a surprise. When you are staying with me until the end of the video, you will get to know. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. Hey guys, my name is Gautham Sudakar. I'm working as Head of Training Department with EduHubSpot. Before you start watching me explain the agile process flow, let me set up the expectations upfront. Please make sure your concepts are so strong on agile artifacts and ceremonies. So, what do I mean by that? You must know what is project vision statement, what is product backlog, what is sprint backlog, and what will happen as a part of sprint planning meeting, daily stand-up meeting, and so on. When you are making your concept strong on agile artifacts and ceremonies, and then when you are watching me explaining the agile process flow, trust me, this video will be a goal for you. So, I'm going to explain the agile process flow by using a tool called EduHubSpot's the Agile Process Flow tool. And this tool has a big flowchart that you are seeing on the screen, and I'm going to use this flowchart and then I will be explaining agile process flow. Don't get overwhelmed by seeing at this flowchart. You know what, this flowchart is too big. Don't worry. With a good practical example, I will be explaining this agile process flow in a very simple manner. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Good. So before I start explaining this flowchart, I just want to take a practical example so that I can connect that example in this agile process flow. Let's all make an assumption. We are going to do a project. As a part of the project, we are going to construct 3-story building. And I'm going to do the project in Agile, and with that example, I will be connecting each concept, and with this example, I will be explaining this flowchart. Good. For any project, the first document that's get created is business needs document. Now let's try to understand about this document. The responsible person for creating the business needs document is project sponsor. And what will be the content inside this business needs document? What needs to be created, that should be written by the sponsor. Let's take a project which is construction of 3-story building. As a part of the project, what needs to be created? The 3-story building, that should be written in the business needs document. High level deliverables will be mentioned. Again, as a part of the project, what is a high level deliverable we want to develop? The 3-story building itself and high level deliverable. And also you can write in each floor what you want to have. You should have a living room, bedroom, bathroom, kitchen. So what sponsor is writing here? High level deliverables. And needs of the project will be analyzed. So this means sponsor will be analyzing, okay, as a part of the project, I'm going to construct a 3-story building. Whether this 3-story building will really contribute to the company's goals or not, that will be analyzed. So based on the needs analysis, sponsor will take go or no go for the project. When sponsor decides this project will not contribute to the company's goal, sponsor will take a no-go decision. In that case, project closure will happen. But based on the needs analysis, when sponsor took a go decision, so when sponsor will take a go decision, when sponsor decides this project will really contribute to the company's goals. In that case, sponsor will take a go decision. Once go decision is taken, the next two documents that will be created in parallel is project business case and benefits management plan. Now let's try to understand about these two documents. So let's start with business case. The responsible person for creating business case, it's again project sponsor. What will be the content inside business case? Economic feasibility study will be done by the sponsor. So what do I mean by that? Let's take our example. Consider for constructing 3-story building, I'm going to invest X dollar investment. What is the value that this building should give to the company? That value will be analyzed by the project sponsor. It can be profit. If it is profit, how much profit this building should give to the company? So that will be analyzed. As we already discussed, in parallel creating business case, benefits management plan also will be created. The responsible person for creating benefits management plan is project sponsor. And what will be the content inside the benefits management plan? How and when benefits of the project will be derived and measured. At the time of creating business case, sponsor already analyzed, this building should give this much value to the company. When that value should be realized, timelines, that will be mentioned inside the benefits management plan. And also how it should be measured while we are executing a project, how project manager should measure these benefits. That also will be written in the benefits management plan. So now based on the business case and benefits management plan, when sponsor decides, the value this project is going to give to the company, it's not that much, sponsor will take a no-go decision for the project. Once the no-go decision is taken, project will be closed. But on the other side, when sponsor decides, this 3-story building is going to give a good value to the company, good profit to the company, sponsor will take a go decision. Once the go decision is taken by the sponsor, the next document gets created and declared as project charter. Now let's try to understand about project charter. The responsible person for creating the project charter is project sponsor. What is the purpose of creating and declaring the project charter? Formal authorization. When sponsor declares project charter, it means the project gets officially authorized. So let's try to understand what will be the content inside the project charter. Name of the project manager, responsibilities and authority will be mentioned. And name of the sponsor, responsibilities and authority will be mentioned in the charter, and also high level information will be there. What is the high level requirements, risk, and everything will be there. But please remember the main purpose of declaring project charter is formal authorization. Good. Once the project charter is declared, that's it. The project gets officially authorized. The next step will happen is project manager will select the project methodology. So what do I mean by that? Project manager should decide either I'm going to do the project in waterfall or agile or iterative or incremental or hybrid. That decision should be taken. So project manager won't be taking this decision alone, because in the project charter, pre-approved financial resources name will be mentioned. Means who are the key team members, that will be mentioned. Along with the key team members, project manager will select methodology. If project manager is selecting any methodology apart from agile, follow the process of the methodology selected. But if project manager and the pre-approved financial resources, if they are selecting methodology is agile, if it is yes, now let's discuss what will happen. If the methodology is selected as agile, the first ceremony that will be conducted is kickoff meeting. Let's try to understand who are the participants in the kickoff meeting. Here we go. Good. So the participants in the kickoff meeting are Scrum team. This means product owner, Scrum master, and development team members. Team will get formed by itself in the kickoff meeting, and in the kickoff meeting, 3 documents will be created: project vision statement, team charter, and initial product backlog. Now let's try to understand these documents. Here we go. Project vision statement. The responsible person for creating project vision statement in the kickoff meeting is product owner. And what can be the content inside the vision statement? Project objectives will be written. Let's take our example, which is construction of the three-story building. What can be the project objectives? I want to complete construction of this building within 1 year. That can be an objective. I want to construct this building within X dollar. That can be an objective. As a part of the project, I should complete constructing a three-story building. That itself an objective. So it should be written in the vision statement. Product or solution description. So what we are going to construct as a part of the project, three-story building. A small description about that three-story building can be written. Differentiators. What differentiator your building has comparing competitors' building? That has to be written. Any key features and benefits. So these are the content will be inside the vision statement. Then in the kickoff meeting, the next document gets created as team charter. So what will be there in the team charter? Ground rules. And who will create team charter? Development team members. By writing ground rules, development team members will write how team has to conduct themselves while they are working on the project. After that, in the kickoff meeting, initial product backlog will be created. The responsible person for creating the initial product backlog is product owner. And what will be the content inside the initial product backlog? High level requirements will be written, means requirements at epic, themes or feature level that will be defined. So what do I mean by high level requirements? Let's take a project which is construction of three-story building. Means my building should have 3 floors. And in each floor, what you must have. I should have a living room. I should have a bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, study room, and so on. These are high level requirements. So this will be written in the initial product backlog. Once the kickoff meeting is completed, the next artifact that will be created is project or product roadmap. Now let's try to understand about this artifact. The responsible person for creating project or product roadmap is product owner. And what will be the content inside the project or product roadmap? Normally it shows the strategy and direction the product or project will take. Now let me give an example for project or product roadmap. Now for our construction of three-story building project, in the initial product backlog, product owner have already written high-level requirements, which is, a building should have 3 floors. Now what product owner will do is, at the time of creating project or product roadmap, product owner will kind of define timelines for this high-level requirements. First floor needs to be launched by this date. Second floor needs to be launched by this date. Third floor needs to be launched by this date. It's a kind of milestone chart. So that's called project or product roadmap. Once that artifact is created, the next ceremony will happen on the Agile project is user story writing workshop. And in the user story writing workshop, product backlog updation will happen. Now let's try to understand, what is user story writing workshop and what kind of updation will happen in the product backlog. Good. Let me scroll down. The participants in the user story writing workshop is Scrum team again, product owner, Scrum master and development team members. And what kind of updation will happen in the user story writing workshop is user stories will be written in the product backlog as the name suggests. So what are user stories? These are smaller requirements. See, kindly be aware, while you are conducting kickoff meeting, when you are creating initial product backlog, you have written high level requirements like my building should have 3 floors and each floor should have living room, bedroom, bathroom and so on. Now in user story writing workshop, detailed requirements will be written. Means in my first floor, my living room should have a balcony. It should have a TV stand. So what I'm writing? Detailed requirements. That's called user stories. So that will be written in the user story writing workshop. And definition of done and definition of ready will be written by development team. And the accountable person for writing user stories is product owner. Product owner is accountable. And the responsible person for writing user stories on the product backlog is product owner, or development team also can write it. The main responsibility stays with product owner, but if product owner wants to delegate this user story writing to development team members, product owner can do it. So once the user story writing workshop is done, the next workshop that will be conducted is estimation or prioritization workshop. So during this workshop, again, updation of product backlog will happen. So let's try to learn this. So who are the participants in the estimation or prioritization workshop? Again, Scrum team, product owner, Scrum master and development team. And what will happen, what kind of updation will happen in the product backlog during this workshop is, as the name suggests, estimation will happen. Story points will be given by development team to the user stories, and user stories will be prioritized based on value by product owner. See, the accountable person for doing this is product owner. Responsibility stays with product owner and development team, because estimation should be done by development team members. Prioritization should be done by product owner. Once the estimation or prioritization workshop is completed, the next ceremony that will happen on an agile project will be release planning meeting. In the release planning meeting, two artifacts will be created: release schedule and release backlog. Now let's try to understand these things. Again, the participants in the release planning meeting is Scrum team, and let's try to understand release schedule. So what content we will have in the release schedule is, product owner along with team will decide how many releases we need for our project. So how product owner and team will decide? Product owner and team will first look at the product or project roadmap. As per the example we have taken, what roadmap we have created? Launch of first floor will happen by this date. Launch of second floor will happen by this date. Launch of third floor will happen by this date. Those three launches can officially become releases. So how many releases we have defined for our project? 3 releases. And timelines also will be defined. Timelines can be easily defined because in the product backlog, you already know what are the requirements you need for the first floor, and estimation is also already done. So release timelines can be easily decided. And how many sprints we are going to do for each releases, that will be decided, and sprints duration also will be decided. Again, how many sprints for each releases, it depends upon the number of user stories that you want to do in each releases. Sprint duration you should decide, in such a way, like by end of each sprint, you should deliver a workable product. When I say deliver, that's not a right term. You should come up with a workable product. Accordingly, you should select the sprint's duration. After deciding number of releases and number of sprints in each releases and sprints duration, cost must be estimated. So we can easily estimate cost because we know how many development team members are there. We know release dates, we know number of sprints and sprints duration. The effort those development team members are going to put in those sprints should be estimated to cost. And in the release planning meeting, we'll be seeing what are the physical resources our project team members, means the development team members, need. The cost of the physical resources also should be added in the project cost. So cost estimation will also happen at the time of creating release schedule. And the accountable person for creating the release schedule is product owner. Responsibility means product owner and development team can both together can actually create the release schedule. After that, in the release planning meeting, release backlog can be created. So what will be the content inside the release backlog? Release backlog will have user stories that must be implemented in each releases plan. In release 1, what are the user stories you want to implement? In release 2, what are the user stories you want to implement? Those release backlog will have. And again, the accountable person for creating release backlog, product owner. Responsibility, product owner and development team will together create the release backlog. So once the release planning meeting is done, the next thing will happen in an agile project is sprint 0. And as it is written, sprint 0 is completely optional. It's not mandatory. So what will happen in sprint 0? Scrum team will do the basic preparation before starting the working sprint. This means we can make sure that team members are having laptops for doing their work. In the laptops, the necessary tools are installed, whether the test equipments are up and ready. Those kind of things you can do as a part of sprint 0. And this is optional. Once the sprint 0 is completed, what will be checked is if the definition of ready is meeting or not, that will be checked. As we already discussed, let me scroll down. Definition of ready will be created at the time of user story writing workshop. Once the sprint 0 is done, so what team will do? Team will see whether all the points listed in the DOR is really meeting or not. If any of the points in the definition of ready it's not meeting, what you have to do? You have to do the unfinished work in DOR and you must start the sprint. If all the points which is listed in the definition of ready is met, if it is yes, we can start with our first working sprint. Now let's try to understand what will happen inside the first working sprint, means inside the first sprint. The first ceremony that will happen inside a working sprint is sprint planning meeting. And what is the artifact that will be created in the sprint planning meeting? Sprint backlog. Now let's try to understand this. Let me scroll a little right. The participants in the sprint planning meeting, it's again Scrum team, PO, development team and Scrum Master will participate. And now let's try to understand what are the activities that will happen in the sprint planning meeting. Sprint goal will be defined by the development team members. This means as a part of the sprint, what we should achieve. For example, for our construction project, which is 3-story building construction project, as a part of the sprint, I want to construct living room of the first floor. It's a great example of a sprint goal. And after that, development team will pick user stories from the product backlog and forms sprint backlog. I will show you this with a diagrammatic representation. You can see here. From the product backlog, development team will pick user stories and they will form sprint backlog. Product backlog will have user stories that we have to implement for the whole project. Sprint backlog will have user stories that needs to be implemented in that particular sprint. So now let's see what should happen next. If any clarifications on the user stories needed, development team will clarify with product owner. So after that, what will happen? Development team will decompose the user stories, means the smaller requirements, into tasks, and the last step is user stories will be assigned to development team by themselves. User story and also the task which are decomposed will be assigned to development team by themselves. So once the sprint planning meeting is completed, the next thing will happen in the sprint is execution of the sprint. And at the time of execution, daily stand-up meeting will happen. Good. Now let's try to understand this. During the execution of the sprint, what will happen? What activities will happen? Simple. One activity, development team will execute the decomposed tasks. Means they will do the actual work. And as we already discussed, while we are executing the sprint, daily stand-up meeting will happen. The participants in the daily stand-up meeting are Scrum Master and development team members. Product owner is optional in daily stand-up meeting. And what activities will happen in the daily stand-up meeting? Each development team members will answer 3 questions. Means what we did yesterday, means what's been done since last meeting. What I'm going to do today, means what needs to be done before the next meeting, any issues or impediments. So these 3 questions will be answered by each development team members. So what's happening here? Daily planning is happening. So once the execution of the sprint is completed, what will happen is Scrum team will check whether all the user stories that picked as a part of the sprint is meeting the definition of done. When any of the user stories are not meeting the definition of done, those, if it is no, you can see here, if it is no, those user stories will go back to the product backlog and it will be again prioritized based on value. That's called grooming or refinement. Product backlog grooming or refinement. So if the user stories are meeting the DOD, if it is yes, only those user stories will be taken to the sprint review meeting. Now let's try to understand sprint review meeting. The participants in the sprint review meeting it's again Scrum team, product owner, Scrum Master and development team. What are the activities will happen in the sprint review meeting? Simple demo. Kindly be aware in sprint review meeting, no status discussion, nothing. Just demo of the working product that we develop. Let's read it. Development team will show the demo of user stories that meets DOD to PO. Yes. And what PO will do? PO will accept or reject stories, and also PO can provide any feedback or changes. So any feedback or changes that PO is providing will go back to the product backlog, and it will again get prioritized based on value. That's called grooming or refinement. So who is responsible for doing grooming or refinement? Product owner, because product owner owns the product backlog. So after that, the last thing which will happen is PO along with Scrum team will discuss where to fit the changes proposed. Yeah. So PO has already given this feedback, right? PO and Scrum team will discuss where to fit this feedback or changes. Only according to this discussion, product owner will fit these feedback or changes to the backlog. That's called grooming or refinement. Let's go back here. Yeah, as we already discussed, PO along with other Scrum team members will discuss where to fit the changes proposed in the product backlog, and also attendees. When I say attendees, the Scrum team will collaborate to discuss what to do next. Means what to do in the upcoming sprint. Based on that, again, product backlog grooming or refinement can happen. Once the sprint review meeting is done, the last ceremony that will happen in a sprint is sprint retrospective meeting. Now let's try to understand this. So who are the participants in the sprint retrospective meeting? Scrum team again, PO, Scrum Master and development team members. Kindly be aware, retrospective meeting, it's a kind of lessons learned meeting. So what we will be discussing, what went well and what not went well in that sprint will be discussed. And development team will analyze the root cause of the problem, and any corrective or preventive measure can be defined in the retrospective meeting. Those corrective or preventive measure that is getting defined in the retrospective meeting, corrective or preventive action, that also should go back to the product backlog, and that should get prioritized based on value. That is also called product backlog grooming or refinement. As we already discussed, it is the product owner responsibility to do grooming or refinement. Once the sprint retrospective meeting is done, that's it, sprint is over. So then we can update the lessons learned register. So once our first sprint is over, what we have to do is we have to take a release schedule. According to the release schedule, if the release is planned, first let's take the no condition. Consider that if no release is planned, in that case, what will happen? Let's follow this arrow. If no release is planned, we will enter into the next sprint, which is sprint number 2, and the same process continues. Now let's talk about the positive condition. Let me zoom in. Good. Let's assume according to the release schedule, if release is planned, if it is yes, what will happen? Hardening sprint will happen, and this is also optional. So what will happen as a part of hardening sprint? We will perform activities that will help us to launch our product. In our case, it will help us to launch our building. We can make sure the final testing is done in the hardening sprint, or we can do the final integration testing. We can train our operation guys about the building that we constructed. We can set up the production environment in order to launch our product. So these kind of things will happen in the hardening sprint. Once the hardening sprint is over, what we will do? We will launch our product. We'll go live. We'll hand over our product to the customer. In our case, maybe we can launch our first floor. So once the launch is done, once the release is done, the next check we have to do is we have to take our release schedule, and then we have to see whether is this the last release plan. If this is the last release plan, if it is yes, project will be closed. But let's see the negative condition. If it is no, according to the release schedule, if it is not the last release, now let's try to follow this arrow where it is going. Here we go. If it is not the last release, simple, we have to enter into the next release. Before you are entering into the next release, what will happen? Release planning meeting has to be revisited. See, first time you have already conducted release planning meeting here. You have created release schedule and release backlog. Now, when you're entering into the second release, you have to revisit your release schedule and release backlog. This means you should check, you know, in the release schedule which I have created in the beginning. For release number 2, I have planned 3 sprints. Each sprint duration is 2 weeks. Whether is it really making sense, or do I want to change the sprint duration or number of sprints? That has to be analyzed. When you are changing that, you should make sure that time and cost are not getting increased from here, means from the first time when you have created the release schedule. And if any update in the release backlog is needed for your release number 2, you can do it. So once this is done, for release number 2, you can again conduct sprint 0, that is optional. You already know what is sprint 0. Once the sprint 0 is completed, that's it. The first sprint of release number 2 will be starting. And the same process continues. So with this, I have explained the complete agile process flow with a practical example, and yeah, the big flow chart we have discussed it, and I'm so happy that I have shared this knowledge for you. And I want to share a very important topic, before I close this discussion. These processes can be tailored. So what do I mean by that? See, what processes See, the flow chart I have drawn, based on the guide, based on the Agile and Scrum guide, and also based on the best practices that are followed across industries. So these flow can be changed, means can be tailored according to your project needs and needs. So what do I mean by that? See, as per the flow chart I have created, I have explained you project or product roadmap should be created after kickoff meeting. Only after that user story has to be written. But when you feel like, before I create project or product roadmap, I should have my user stories, I should have my estimation done. In that case, you can create roadmap after estimation or prioritization workshop. That's called tailoring. You're changing this process flow according to your project needs. Last but not least, let's talk about the poor guy who is Scrum Master. See, I was explaining lot of things. And for doing everything, I was saying this product owner will do, this development team members will do. Nowhere in my discussion, I was talking about this will be done by Scrum Master. Then what is the role of Scrum Master in Agile? This is where you have to remove your traditional hat and then you have to wear your Agile hat. As a Scrum Master or project manager of an Agile project, you are a facilitator. This means you will just facilitate these events and ceremonies. That's it. You are a servant leader. If product owner or development team members has any problem, you will pitch in and then you will help them to resolve the problem. And you are an agile coach. When product owner or development team are lacking skills and competencies in agile, you will coach them. I hope you guys have enjoyed EduHubSpot's The Agile Process Flow tool, and also I believe you guys have enjoyed my explanation. So sorry for being repetitive. Again, I repeat, when you really want to understand the Agile Process Flow, which I taught, you must be very strong with your concepts on Agile ceremonies and artifacts. Because this particular concept, the Agile Process Flow, in my live training, I teach this concept close to 1.5 hours to 2 hours by giving lot of practical examples. What I taught here is just a miniature version of what I will be teaching in my live training. Now, for the PMP exam, if you want to really pass the PMP exam, understanding of PMP concepts is just 50%. The next 50% is you should build ability to apply all the concepts you learned in the scenario based questions. Now the next question comes, how to build that ability. That ability can be built only by practicing test questions. So that is a reason from EduHubSpot mentors team, we have handpicked 15 PMP test questions, and these questions we handpicked by talking to our students who cleared the PMP exam recently. And these 15 test questions will test your knowledge on the Agile Process Flow. In order to access these questions, you must use a tool, and the tool name is EduHubSpot, the Agile Process Flow Questions tool. Now, let me introduce that tool for you. The Excel file that you are seeing on the screen is EduHubSpot Agile Process Flow Questions tool. This Excel has some macros. As a first step, you have to enable all the macros. I will let you know how to enable those macros. So what you guys must do, go to File, please select Options. After that, please click Trust Center and please click Trust Center Settings. Here we go, and you will be seeing an option called Macro Settings. Please click this. So after clicking this macro settings, please make sure these three options are enabled. Means the first option you should enable is this one. Enable VBA macros. It is written not recommended, potentially dangerous code can run, but don't worry, these macros are very safe and this is created by us. And after that, you have to enable the second option, enable Excel 4.0 macros. This option you have to enable. And after that, the third option you should enable is this one, trust access to the VBA project object model. So after enabling these three options, click OK. And then again, click OK. That's it. Macros are enabled. After that, please save this file. Save this file. And after that, please close this file. After closing this file, reopen the file again. I'm just reopening it. So that's it. You guys are set. This means macros are enabled. Now let me explain how to use this tool. So the first tab, the tab name is How To. So as the name suggests, in the first tab, I have explained how to use these tools. For example, here I have explained, how to enable the macros. And here I have explained how to use this tool. You can read it by yourself. And here you will see a small explanation video as well. So that will explain you how to use this Agile Process Flow Questions tool. Now let's move on to the next tab. After How To, you have lot of tabs. Let me give you an overview. Each tab will have couple of PMP questions that will test your knowledge on Agile Process Flow. For example, I'm opening this tab, Q1, Q2. As the name suggests, this tab has two questions, question number 1 and question number 2. I'm opening the next tab, Q3, Q4. As the name suggests, this tab has question number 3 and question number 4. And so on. You will be seeing 15 questions, that is distributed across different tabs. Now let me explain how to practice these questions. I'm going to Q1 and Q2. So please read the instructions here. Instruction is clearly written here. So what you guys must do, first read the mock questions below and answer them by double clicking on the given options. Once you are double clicking on the given options, a pop-up message will appear stating if you have selected the right one or wrong one. And each question, every question has an explanation video attached. By seeing the explanation video, you can see that why for that question this answer is right, other three options are wrong. And that's how you have to use this particular file. So now let me do that. See, I'm seeing question number 1. What you guys must do, read the question. You have 4 options. Consider you have selected option B. As it is mentioned inside the instruction, when you are doing a double click, you will get to know whether this particular option is correct or wrong. See, I'm just doing a double click. Oops, you can see even after doing the double click, I'm not getting whether this option is correct or wrong. I failed. The same scenario, the same problem you may face while you are using this tool. Means even after you enable all the macros, you won't see, whether that particular option is correct or wrong. When you are facing this problem, now let me explain what you guys must do. Again, go to File, click Options, go to Trust Center, click Trust Center Settings, go to Macro Settings again. As a first step, click this option. Click Disable VBO macros except digitally signed macros. After that, click OK. Click OK. Then do a Save As. Save the same file in a different location. See, I'm saving the same file in a different location by making Save As. After that, I'm closing this file. Then I'm accessing the same location which I have saved this file right now. I'm opening the file again. Now I'm going to File, Options, Trust Center Settings, Macro Settings. Now change the option. Click Enable VBA Macros and click OK. OK. Now save this file. Just save this file. Close. Again reopen the same file. Now you try this question, this will work. For example, read question number 1. I'm clicking option A. Here we go. It shows wrong answer. I'm clicking option B. Here we go. See, option B is the correct answer. So now after you practice this test question, as it is written in the instructions, every question has an explanation video. When you are clicking this, you will get to know why for this question B is right, A, C and D are wrong. You should do the same for the next question. Read the question, pick an option. See, I picked the wrong one. Oops, this is also wrong. Option D is the right one. After this, this question also has an explanation video. Watch it and try to understand why D is right and other 3 options are wrong. Similarly, you can practice all these questions, which is in the different tabs. So we came to the end of the video. Now I want to bring a topic which I was talking in the introduction, which is nothing but the 2 free giveaways. At this point in time, you would have already guessed what are those giveaways. Yes, the giveaway number 1 is our EduHubSpot's the Agile Process Flow tool, and the giveaway number 2 is EduHubSpot's the Agile Process Flow questions tool. In order to get these 2 giveaways, I would kindly request you to do just one thing. Please visit our website www.eduhubspot.com. You will be seeing an option called Book a Free Demo Class. Click that option. According to your convenient date and time, schedule a Zoom call with one of our educational expert, or on the right bottom on our website, you will be seeing an option to do a live chat. Initiate a live chat. You will be connected to a support person, and that support person will help you to schedule a Zoom call with one of our educational experts. And this Zoom call is completely for free of cost. And what will happen in that Zoom call is our expert will be trying to understand, your PMP preparation status, and then they will be proposing you the way forward. And also that will be an opportunity for you to understand how EduHubSpot students are passing the PMP exam without reading single line from any books. And also you can understand from EduHubSpot how we will be working with our students on a one-to-one basis. And I promise you guys, at the end of the call, our expert will be sharing you these 2 free tools for you. So why we are doing this? For a simple reason, we as a company wants to create a positive impact on your PMP journey. So that is the only reason we are doing this. From my bottom of my heart, thank you so much for staying with me for such long time. This video is a pretty long video. It's almost more than 35 minutes. Thank you so much for your patience, and I strongly believe I made every second of you worth. If you want to reach out to me for any queries related to PMP or generic project management stuff, please don't hesitate to write me an email. My email ID is gautham.sudakar@eduhubspot.com, that you will be seeing on the screen, and I promise you within 24 hours you will get my response. I will be also giving my LinkedIn ID in the description of this video. Please be kind enough in sending the connection request. Let's stay connected and let's help our project management community together. Last but not least, for this year 2024 and moving forward, we promised ourselves every 2 or 3 weeks once we must launch a good content videos. So in order to access these videos, I would kindly request you to subscribe our channel and please click the bell button so that whenever we are launching a new video, you will get a notification. So thank you again, and I will be soon meeting you all in another great video. Until then, bye. Take care.